when we got into water, it felt like something out of like the Lord of the Rings or something. My mind was just like blown away when I saw everything.
Off Gassing, a scuba podcast with host Nick Hogel. I always enjoy speaking with different photographers on the show. Photography, dry photography, has been a hobby of mine for some time, so it's great to hear the insights of others who share in this passion. In this episode, I speak with Philip Stenqvist. He can usually be found capturing images in the flooded mines of Northern Europe, diving the cold waters of Sweden, a brief moment as a dive professional, moving into the technical and eventually overhead environments, underwater photography, and much more. Please enjoy. Philip, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Cool. And where exactly are you again?
I am based in Sweden, in a small, you can call it village almost, town in the west coast. So we are like an hour from Gothenburg.
Okay. And you're from there originally?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I am not gonna lie, I know Sweden, I don't know the area very well, so I'm excited to hear more about it. But my first question I wanted to ask you is, tell me how and why you got into scuba diving. Tell me about that first breath underwater. What led to that moment? Was it amazing? Was it horrible? Was it Tell me all about it.
I think the first thing that got me into scuba diving was influenced by where I live. There has been like a tradition of people diving a lot here, almost since I think the 60s or something. And we also have some manufacturer locally here. You maybe heard of Sci-Tech. They make exhaust valves and things for dry suits. They are close by here, and one of my parents also used to work there. So I think that was the first thing that influenced me to start to think about diving. Then I've always been like, if you could say, like a water child when I was little. I always wanted to hang out by the sea. And then one day I thought, why not take the step further and see what's in the sea. So I did like some try dives here in Sweden, but also in the Mediterranean before I did my first open water course. So I think that is the way it went. And first, on my open water course, the first experience, it was mixed feelings, you could say.
Oh, okay.
This was in Easter here, so it in some beginning of April. It was snowing, quite windy on land. Luckily, we used dry suit from the beginning, so that was nice. But yeah, I think the first impression was what is this that I am trying to do here? It was cold, it felt miserable, but as long as the course prolonged, that feeling turned to more like wow, what a new world. And ever since then, I've been hooked on it.
Okay. So you were saying that there's a lot of history of scuba diving there from the 60s. So is there quite a large, I would assume there's quite a large scuba diving community. Is it kind of, so it's almost like a normal thing rather than, because I know it's funny in Texas where I first started to learn, there is a scuba diving community, but I didn't really know about it until I started looking into it. So it's kind of, I'm curious to hear more about like, it was just there and people knew about it. It's just a matter of getting involved.
Yeah, exactly like that. People in the town know which are the divers, so you could say. So it's more like you said, it's more like taking the first contact and get involved in the group.
And then I always kind of wonder because I joke around and I call it Texas cold. because my certification was in December in Texas, so it's not like other cold places. So it's cold, but it's almost kind of embarrassing to say when I actually talk to people from cold places. And I always kind of wondered if it not like if it would have been easier to start out with a dry suit, but like since you're learning everything is new. It's
Mm.
just I feel like a few extra steps. So do you primarily only dive a dry suit now, or do you try to get into a wetsuit when you get to some warmer climates?
No, always dry suit. Always dry suit. It's like a second home when you crawl in the suit. You feel like home in it. Now I've actually used to wetsuits. I think it was like 4 years now last time. That was in Egypt in the Red Sea. That is the only time since I started diving that I have used a wetsuit.
Did you just forget your dry suit or something?
No, no, we just had a light packing in the suitcase, so I brought the wetsuit instead. So
Oh, okay, okay. So you own one, but you actively try not to wear one.
exactly.
I feel like I have some pieces of equipment like that where I own it and it just kind of sits in the back of the shelf somewhere collecting dust. And I'm like,
Hmm.
one day I'll use that. One day I'll use it. Well, tell me about the open water course. How did you take to it? Where did the skills come easy? Were you like a fish in water? Were you like a fish out of water? Because I know sometimes some people have a little bit of a hurdle to overcome, especially because you said it was kind of that first moment. The first couple of moments were kind of miserable until you started really enjoying it.
I think the first the moment that gave me that miserable feeling, I think it was the cold in the beginning. Then you get used to it. These days it feels almost strange to not feel the cold water. But I think the skills, I think that was mixed feelings also. Some did come easy, but there is always, like everything else, there's always something that will mess things up. So I think it was mixed results skills wise, but you just have to keep going.
Okay, okay. So when you completed that first course, did you know that you wanted to keep continuing your education, or was it kind of like how was the progression after open water?
No, I knew directly that I wanted to continue. I did, I don't know, maybe a couple of months as an open water. Then I progressed to yeah, the normal PADI ladder, like advanced, rescue, dive master, and up to assistant instructor. I think I stopped at, and this took a couple of years.
How did you like the when you transitioned into the professional side of it? How did you like that?
Yeah, it was fun to interact with the people that wanted to try and learn to do the same as we all have done. That was the fun part. There is always some parts that is not that fun. So I think I did that for like yeah, half a year or something. Then I ventured into the more technical side instead.
Okay, okay. Tell me about that progression.
I have a friend that I don't think he's an instructor now, but he was a GUE instructor. So I did a fundy to begin with. And after I got my tech pass there, it progressed to Tech 1. And there I had Annika Persson, that you have interviewed also,
Oh, cool, cool.
the Norwegian. She was my instructor then. And at that moment, I think it was like a year or something, we dived at that level to get more experience. And after that, I did find something that I really loved, and that was the mines.
Oh, okay, okay.
So then it switched tracks a little bit towards the overhead environment.
I always like to ask this because so I recently, well, in October of last year, I took a fundamentals course, and I probably was maybe 7 years in of diving before I took the fundamentals course, and I would like to think that I'm a good student and I try to keep an open mind going into courses. I know for some people they have skills so ingrained in them to when they go and take a fundamentals course, it becomes quite difficult because they have to break everything that they've learned. Essentially, I don't want to say the wrong way, but they have to kind of just change their way of thinking going in
Mm.
because they might have something that became muscle memory, second nature to them that they have to stop doing. And I felt I did okay, but when you went into the fundamentals course, how did you take to it? Was it a big learning curve, or did you kind of have a good foundation going in?
Yeah, I think I had a quite good foundation, but I would say it's like when everyone else is doing the fundamental course, it's a real eye opener. So it was quite a steep curve to learn with all the skills, and yeah, it was intense. I think it was 4 days or something the course, and after that, it felt like I needed a vacation.
I, I was gonna say I felt like I think I felt like that after day two.
Yeah.
I was like, I was like, okay, but no, I really enjoyed the course, and I was able to earn a rec pass, and
Mm.
I'm working towards a tech pass because I'm still kind of on the fence of if I want to go, because once you get that tech pass, it's either I feel like it's either Cave One or Tech One,
Yeah.
and I feel like where I live, the Tech One route would be the way to go. And then plus, I'm actually about to head to Mexico to do Cave, but in side mount, so it'll be different. But I think it would be kind of cool to build that skill set and develop those skills, I guess I should say, in the two different configurations,
Mm.
the back mount doubles, but also kind of have that skill set with the side mount. But tell me about your overhead journey. How was that? Because I've I don't even know if I've been in a dry mine, but tell me about your first time into the overhead, first time into mines. I'm sure that was a pretty amazing experience.
Yeah, we did our Mine 1 course in a mine called Sala Silvergruva. So it's a silver mine, shut down, I don't know, long time ago. But it's a really, really cool place because you need to take, and there is an elevator. So you take an elevator down to like 155-meter level. So you are 155 meters below the ground before you reach the water. And then there's, yeah, at least 150 meters more of water depth.
Oh wow.
So it's a really cool place. And I was amazed when we just get down to the dry parts. And when we got into water, it felt like something out of like the Lord of the Rings or something. My mind was just like blown away when I saw everything. It was, yeah, I loved it. I loved it. I know then that I wanted to continue to do this.
So what consists of a mine one? Is that very similar to a cave one? I'm assuming there's slight differences going into it.
Yeah, I think the limits are depth and the way how many navigations you can do. So when we did the mine one, we had the limits of 30 meters of depth, and we only had a chance to do two active navigational choices. Either if it was that you come to a T section or if you did a jump or something, but as long as you only remained in two choices. But man, it was cold. I think that mine is like, I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but it is 2 degrees Celsius, the water.
I can tell you that's cold in Fahrenheit.
That's like 30, 35 Fahrenheit or something.
Yeah. Oh no, that's definitely cold.
The lost line drill was fun in that.
So when I'm assuming if they're conducting courses in there, the mine is pretty well mapped out.
Mm.
Is it and like I said, I apologize for my ignorance because I'm just getting into the overhead kind of I haven't even taken the course yet. I'll be taking it in a little over a month. I'm assuming it's mapped out. How is it completely explored, or is there still unexplored sections of it? So like when you go into the course, do they lay the map in front of you and be like, okay, this is where we're going to go, this is what we're going to do? Or well, I would assume for a course that's how it would have to be. But tell me a little bit more about the mind. Is it completely explored? People have got to the end of the line, or found the end of the line. If I don't know if that's the right term.
No, no. The main part is explored, I would say, since we have the old original maps from the mining
Oh, okay.
companies. It's like an open archive, so you can just download them from the website. And then we have overlaid the maps where the line is. So I would say almost all mines down to 90, 100 meter-ish, something around there, is well explored. But below that, it's more fresh ground. There you can do some real exploration.
So people are still pushing exploration there.
Yep, we are. The mine that I dive the most is called the Långbahn. It's in like the central of Sweden. And there are a group that are pushing to try to find some connection between the main shafts, because there are different main shafts from different time periods and stuff like that. They are at the moment at 130 meters and laying some new lines. And I know that they have done a dive to deeper, to 150, 160 or something, to check out the next level also.
Oh, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, so I am still kind of on. I mean, I think I'll. I mean, who knows? Actually, I really don't know. But so I'm just starting kind of into the technical world too. As of like a year and a half ago,
Mm,
and someone was asking me at one time like, oh, do you think you'll ever want to get to that century club, the 100-meter mark? And I'm just like, man, I don't know. That's deep.
yeah, yeah, for
There's a
sure. It's really,
lot.
really deep.
Yeah, so there's a lot that goes into it. But you started progressing into the mines,
Mm,
and I noticed that you're a rebreather diver. So kind of
yeah.
how did you start to progress? I feel like that's a natural progression as you start getting into technical. You start getting deeper, wanting to stay longer. You're like, okay, let's get into a unit. So what unit do you dive? Well, I guess how did you tell me about the progression into the rebreather, and then what unit do you dive?
I think it was the thought about the rebreather in my head started somewhere around when I did my Tech 1, because I could see where I wanted to go and what like evolution of my own diving I wanted to make. So in my head, the natural choice felt like a rebreather is the way to go, and I still think it's the right choice that I made. And I choose the JJ. I think there's a really strong JJ community here in Sweden. Yeah, I did my hypoxic, the full trimix course this winter. So now I'm done with that part of the
Okay, okay.
education. But I think it has been a great journey, and can really see now that I have the right tool for the mines.
Oh yeah, no, I feel like once you start, I don't want to call them arguments, but the positives of bringing a unit into the overhead environment definitely makes a lot of sense. I feel like there's a lot of time and experience to get to that point, but
Mm,
just to have the time to be able to do the things that you would need to do. And I'm sure, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of prep work that leads up to that. But then also too, I was even going to say that it seems like the JJ community around the world is just pretty big. That's a
mm,
extremely popular unit, and
yeah.
from all the things I've heard, it's what do they call it? The 4x4 of rebreathers. It's just a tank. So I have not been. I've done tri dives on a few units, not a JJ, but I know some people that have those units, and they definitely speak very highly of them. And then tell me a little bit about the photography side of your diving.
I think that was like a side hobby. I like to take photos on land, and then it progressed slowly towards taking it underwater. I think we all start at the same place with just a small action cam, like a GoPro or something like that, and then it all went downhill from there. Then you buy your first more like a mirrorless camera and housing, and you need lights, and yeah, so it builds up like a big snowball.
Yeah, yeah. What do you shoot on?
I shoot on a Panasonic GH5 at the moment.
Okay, okay.
So, but I am currently in the phase of looking on what to change to.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I want to upgrade maybe like next year or something. So
What do you have your eye on?
I like the new Nikon, like the Z8 that came out. Think that looks like a really great piece of equipment. So, but it's a big investment because you need a new housing and everything. So you need to start early to prepare your wallet.
Yeah. Oh man, I no, I completely understand. So I enjoy land photography, or I refer to it sometimes as drive photography.
Hmm.
And I got into a Sony a few years back, more than a few years ago now. And I just upgraded my camera. I really didn't need one, but it was more of the want as opposed to the need. And so I got a new camera, and oddly enough, I went to a dive show and there was a Sony booth there, and I'd been looking at the camera for a few months, and they
Hmm.
had one there, and I was like, ugh, I should just get it. I ended up buying it, and then of course, they're like, oh yeah, you should get the housing too, and then you need this and
Yeah.
that, and I'm just like, I mean, but what sucks about it is the housing. I feel like, well, I probably could have got into a cheaper housing, but basically, like, you start looking at stuff, and I'm like, okay, this is an expensive camera, and then obviously, next to the expensive camera is the naughty cam housings,
Mm.
and then it's like, I'm like, damn, dude, this housing is more expensive than the camera,
Yeah.
and that's just the housing. That's not even anything else that you need. And I'm just like, dude, I can't do this. And so that's been my biggest setback, is like, oh man, I don't I want to bring this camera in the water, but it's like, my bank. And then plus, I just I'm going to be training on a rebreather little later this year too.
Mm.
And so I just purchased one, and it's just the
Can I ask which one?
oh, I got the so I got into the Fathom Gemini. I
Ah,
dive
nice.
side mount quite a bit, and I was looking at Revos.
Mm.
I was almost really set on a Revo, because one of my big things were to be able to like a travel friendly unit.
Mm.
And so I was looking for something that would be easy to kind of cart around, because currently where I'm living, I don't live in an area where there's diving. So anytime I have to dive, I'm pretty much getting on a plane.
Mm.
If there was driving and diving, that would be different. But pretty much like anywhere I want to go get in the water, I have to get on a plane. And then that's the other thing too, is like you just start gathering all this equipment. And I can't remember who I was talking to, but I was talking to somebody, and I'm like, man, so you have your rebreather, you have all your camera equipment, you have
Mm.
all your scuba equipment. I'm like, how much luggage are you bringing?
Bring it all, bring it all.
Yeah, yeah. And then you want to bring the spares and everything. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
man, it's like, I feel like, like, so I moved to Malaysia like right around 2 years ago, and literally all I brought was like one bag full of clothes, and then the rest was scuba equipment, because I'm
Mm.
like, I need to bring my scuba equipment out there.
The
And
most important thing.
yeah, that's what I mean. But and then it's like I'm just traveling on a 3-hour plane ride, and I feel like I'm bringing the same amount of gear, and it's like just short. So I'm just like, man. So either way, that's why I opted for the Gemini. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a solid unit.
Mm.
I don't know much about rebreathers. Felt like I've done a pretty decent amount of research, but I think at some point I'm kind of keeping my eye out for a used back mount unit of some sort, because I do understand it's the right tool for the job. So at some point I'll probably be like, it would be a hell of a lot easier to get into a back mount unit, but I don't really know, because I haven't started that journey yet. So we'll
No.
we'll see how it goes. But talk to me about a typical like photo shoot. So
Mm.
are you going down there? Are you setting it up? Like, what kind of lights are you bringing? Like, do you have a good idea in mind, or are you just kind of going on the fly? Tell me like a typical photo shoot day.
A typical photo shoot day starts. almost every time with an ID that this is something that we want to do, because the areas that we mostly shoot now, we know where like all the things are, the wagons and all the ladders and stuff like that. So we have a good idea of what we would like to do. So we often talk about it, but I don't want it to take up the whole dive either, because if it's not an more advanced setup, but if it's just a normal photo setup, then I don't want that to be like the main focus of the dive also. Just kind of respect to my buddies also. It's not always the fun to just hold a light for like 30 minutes and then, yep, that's that dive. So we usually make a plan, and then we go directly there, set up some lights. Often someone or two or three are the light divers. Set up some lights, then we choose also on land which is going to be like a model, and that guy has the best job. He's just laying there looking at, get blinded by all the lights, so he can't see anything when you are. So that's why it's great with a rebreather where you can talk to him, because he's not seeing anything with all the lights. So it's all like sounds like a Muppet show or something underwater. So everyone is talking in the loops and shit. So we are not the quietest group, I would say. And yeah, maybe, and then we spent like 15 minutes, something like that, just taking the pictures, and then we wrap it up and take a little detour that we want to see something else, and then we call the dive.
So I'm always curious as like a amateur photographer. So when you go and you got the planned shoot, everything kind of starts to come into place. On average, how many photos are you coming back? How many images are you coming back with? Because I know in the beginning for me, I was very trigger happy, and then when
Spray and
I'm
pray.
sitting in front of and then when I get to my computer, I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I've tried to limit that. So like when you go, are you, how many images do you think you're coming back with, or are on average
You
coming
mean
back
like
with?
in total or the keepers?
Well, I mean, in total, because it always filters down to just a few. I'm assuming,
Yeah,
correct? Like
yeah.
where because sometimes I still sometimes I'll get trigger happy, and then I'm just like, man, and so I've actually wanted to go and take film,
Mm,
grab a film camera, just so I'm like, I only have this many shots. So
yeah.
as soon as they're done, they're done. But on average, like, how many are you coming back with before you start filtering them out?
I would say I have also been like the place where you say you are just spraying and praying. You're coming back with like 1,000 pictures and like one is good enough, you think. But these days, I think 100 maybe, 100 to
Ah,
200
okay.
pictures. Uh,
Okay.
and out of them, if everything looks fine, maybe five, six, I would say, is real keepers.
Okay.
Then you have some pictures that are like, nah, I don't know, maybe not good, maybe not bad, but nah, I keep them.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
those are like resting to some better days.
Do you have and this is a question that I feel like I could probably, if I had to pick like two or three out of all of my photo, well, I mean, not all of them obviously, but do you have some favorite shots that you have? Because I know some people are like, they haven't gotten the perfect shot yet, but do you have some favorite shots of yours that you have completed?
Nah, I don't think I have some perfect ones. I think I am in going in the right direction, what I want to do, and I have some, I would say, decent at least in my mind. But I'm still searching for the perfect one also.
Have you? Because I know a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but have you? When you go, do you always go with a camera, or do you kind of? Is it like, one out of three times you're not going with the camera, or is it pretty much anytime you're getting in the water, are you bringing your camera?
It depends a little bit what dive we are doing, and if it's more like an, we are trying to push a little bit of exploration in another mine that doesn't have as much line in it, and if it's a purely a dive that we are focused on finding a new part and laying some new lines, I don't bring the camera because then it's an almost a distraction for the whole team. So then it's more important that we are doing what we want to do and everything is safe. So, but it's like you said, I bring the camera 80% maybe. So it's
Okay.
like one dive, one, two dives in between. And I don't bring the camera, otherwise it's always hanging there.
And then my another question I like to ask, because there's obviously with these big units, and this is the other thing that I don't want to say it kind of scares me. It's just another thing because I'm fully prepared. I've been fully informed about the time that it takes to set up the rebreather. The time that it takes to break down the rebreather. It adds a lot to your diving, so that's why they'll kind of steer some people away if you're just the type of person that throws it all in the back. Although I have heard some people that's why they like the JJs because they can kind of beat it up a little bit.
Sure.
But with the camera, how much time is involved before the dive and then after the dive? Like how much additional time are you adding to get everything ready? Like what are your steps that you take to get the camera ready, and then after it's done and you're back, like the steps to break it down? How much time and what are you doing?
I would say before the dive, I usually come prepared. I usually prepare the stuff as good as I can home before I leave. And at the dive site, maybe I take like half an hour or something just to check everything is good with the camera, housing, memory cards, lights are working, stuff like that. And then I always do like a leak check. Even if I have the vacuum valve and everything, I always dip the housing for a moment to see. And after the dive, I would say maximum an hour just to get everything out, clean the housing. Since there is like in the mine, there's like fine particles in the water some places. So you really want to get rid of that because they are quite hard. So they can get in and damage the O-rings and or scratch like the dome or stuff like that. I think it's more afterwards. It's more like a cleaning and like a light polish on the dome and stuff like that.
And then actually, I just wanted to bring it back just a little bit because I was curious. I was going to ask, and then we kind of went off on the overhead and photography questions. What is the local diving like in your area? Like not mine dive, not overhead, but like what are the other what places are you going to dive? What are you going to see? I'm assuming freshwater, but I might be completely wrong on that. But what is the local diving like?
No, it's actually saltwater. We are as since we are on the west coast, we have the Atlantic Sea. Where I live now, it's like 1 kilometers to the closest dive site, so it's quite close. I could literally take like a trolley and walk down with the gear. So and it's a fjord, like you see in the Norway and stuff like that also. So it's deep. It's like yeah, I think it's deep at deepest point 120 meters or something, but it is a really nice place to see wildlife. So there's a lot of fish, cod, herrings. We have quite a lot of lobster, crabs, and the big crabs like the king crab that you see on Discovery Channel and stuff like that. We have those also in the fjord. So if you just we call them jokes and call them vegetable dives, but if you just want to see fishes, then it's a great place.
Okay. That's pretty funny. And that's where you learned how to dive?
Mm, yep.
Oh, okay. Cool. And I'm assuming there's certain times a year that are a lot better to go
Mm.
out and do those dives than other parts of the year.
I would say early spring or late fall. I would say that's the best
Okay.
time. Now it's too cold. If you want to do like a decompression dive, it's too cold. It can get down. The last stop at 6 or 3 meters can get down to almost 0 degrees.
So you're obviously like you said in a dry suit most of the time.
Mhm.
I'm assuming. Do you have the like the heated are they heated vests? I'm assuming. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what they're called. So what just out of curiosity, what dry suit do you have?
Actually, I have two dry suits. One as my primary and one as my secondary slash summer dry suit. The secondary one is an Ursuit Cordura dry suit equipped with, I don't know if you have seen, but there's a Finnish company called Loitokari. They make like a rubber dry suit with the dry hoods and special gloves and stuff like that. So I have the three finger gloves, so it's like this, the gloves. It's a pain in the ass to learn, but it's warm. It's warm. And the dry hood, that's like a miracle. And as my primary, like mine suit or winter suit, it's a full Loitokari suit, so it's a Finnish suit.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it's like a thick rubber suit without seals or anything.
What is the benefit of a rubber suit as opposed to? I mean, I know they're Kevlar or Trilam or neoprene, but why the rubber?
From the beginning, I think that suit that I make is they only make that model in rubber. I think it's more for a commercial side from the beginning,
Oh,
for the
okay, okay.
saturation divers and stuff like that. But then there's quite a big mine diving community in Finland also. So it is almost like this suit is what everyone is using there because it's really, really durable. They call it almost indestructible.
Oh, okay.
Also, when you have the dry hood, you don't have any neck seal, and there's like a small lining inside of the hood, so it's sealing around your face, and everything is dry inside. So you are keeping your whole body at a much higher temperature. But it's not the best look for sure on land. You look like
uh,
you are going to do something else in black rubber suit, small face opening. Yeah.
that's funny. Yeah, so I have a little bit of time in a dry suit, and I am looking in at some point I should be getting an SF Tech
Mm.
suit. I've heard good things about those suits, but then I've heard it's also very heavy. So I was almost thinking maybe getting like a travel dry suit, but it's funny though you say the summer dry suit. It just sounds kind of funny from my standpoint because I think summer is just super hot. But I mean the mine water I'm sure is super cold year round.
Yeah, but also if you dive like in the sea, if you get down to, I would say 50, 60, I think the if you get deeper than 50 or 60 meters, it's the same temperature all year round. So then it's like 4 degrees.
Yeah, yeah. And then plus I mean the length of time you're staying in the water too has to be a huge factor because even if it was warmer than that, if you're staying for quite a long time, it's you're gonna get cold. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have not ever done like a heated vest or anything like that. So it's gonna be funny when I do eventually try one because I'd like to get into some cold water diving.
The West are super good. I love the heated West. It's really nice.
Probably really nice for decompression too. I've heard,
Yeah.
or I
Yeah.
have heard that it's really nice for decompression because then that way you're not an icicle, a
Mm.
popsicle
Yeah.
when you're doing your deco and just extending it over long periods of time. Well, cool. Any upcoming? I mean, it seems like you're diving quite a bit, but do you have any upcoming travel plans or adventures you're about to go on?
I think the closest one is this summer. Then we're going a small group of friends to Finland actually to do some mine diving there. And I hope maybe go to Estonia also this summer to do some wrecks in the Baltic. Otherwise, I don't think I have any plans. We have talked about maybe going to Red Sea again to do like a full CCR trip. And I would like to go to Mexico also, but it's hard to do everything at once.
Yeah, I am constantly arguing with my bank account, trying to allow it to do me more or let me do more, but it doesn't want to comply. And then another question I actually wanted to ask is so the team that you go out and dive with, is it a pretty big team? Is it, are you doing just groups of three like how many people and how often are you diving with them to build synchronicity, I guess, to where it's a functional good team?
I would say some of the members in the team I dive more often with because of where we live. It's easier to dive with the people close by to you. But as a whole team, I think we are 7 as our little group, if you could say like that. And the dives we do together, I think it's 1 weekend, 1 or 2 weekends a month. So it's quite often, I would say. So we are quite well synchronized, in my thought, at least. We know what person's task is if we are doing a more advanced dive, and how he would react also if something happens.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a team name?
No, no,
No.
no. We just have nicknames on all the members instead.
What is your nickname, if you don't mind me asking?
I've actually gotten a new one also, but the original one is Klimpen. I'm called. It's like
Klimpin.
yeah,
Okay.
it's from like a child TV show. There was a guy called Klimpen, and yeah, in the show he's a real asshole, but I don't know why I got it. So I think someone thought I looked like him or something. Yeah.
Okay. That's funny. No, I did a round table not too long ago, and with the I was just about to say the complete wrong name, but with the wet mules
Mm.
out of Australia, and I was kind of asking them, about like how they came up with the name, things like that, and then they started naming some other teams, and I just thought I was like, for a second, I'm like, is that real? Because the names just sounded so funny. I mean, the Wet Mules is kind of a funny name in general, but it's just some of the other names that they were naming. I was like, man, like who's coming up with all these names? They're hilarious. But no, that's awesome. And then the CCR trip, is that going to be the whole group of 7 or just whoever can make it? Is everybody a CCR diver on the team?
Yeah, yeah. Everyone is doing the JJ.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I don't think everyone can come. I think it's like you said, who has the possibility will join the trip.
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, too, that was the another big reason why I was looking when I was looking at different CCR units was the Revo, because there is a very big community of Revo divers out there, and that's one thing that I've heard is it's nice to be basically on the same unit as a lot of people around you for various reasons, if you need spare
For sure,
parts or just a collective mind if something goes wrong with a rebreather, the different knowledge base that everybody has. And that is kind of one thing that I was asking about with the Gemini, is the fact that I think there's a few people out on the side of the world that do dive them, but they're not going to be anywhere near close to me. So email and I feel like the internet age, it's pretty easy to reach out to people. But also, it's from my understanding, it's a very simple unit. It's a mechanical
mm,
unit. From what I've heard, you could, basically, if you need to work on it, it's very fairly simple to work on. Would you feel the same way about the JJ? Is it a fairly simple unit to maintain and work on?
oh yeah, for sure. In my eyes, the JJ is like it's a mechanical unit that has an electronic solenoid in it. So it's as close as you can come to a mechanical unit, but it is an ECCR instead. So yeah, I would say it's very easy to work on, and it's can stand a beating for sure.
Yeah.
We smash it into walls and stuff like that in the mines, and yeah, you come home, you see all the scratches, and the canister looks like shit, and then you have a little file at home that you fixes the edges and everything, and then it's fine again. So yeah, it can stand a beating
Yeah, yeah, no, and so I definitely at some point, like I said, I think I'll try to look into a back mount unit because I'd like to try a few different units, and I just think it would be a good skill set to pick up. But
Mm.
it's always kind of tough because I'm still very undecided in the direction. I feel like some people, they're like, okay, this is what I want to go and do. I'm gonna keep going, and I have like very vague ideas. Like obviously, I'm going into an overhead course, so I want to go into the overhead, but I still, have dreams of going fairly deep, and who knows, maybe I'll hit that Century Club at some point in time, but I'm not in a rush to get there.
No.
But cool, man, cool. Well, let me throw out one last question for you. And I feel like I like asking this because it's something that I'm about to venture into for the last question, the advice question. So somebody that's about to go into overhead training, and I mean, my goal is caves. Eventually I would like to try some mines. I know that there's some exploration on this side of the world going on, but in particular mine diving, what advice would you have for somebody that is about to go and they want to get into the mines, they want to start doing that type of diving? What is the best piece of advice that you could give to that person?
I would say take your time, don't rush it, and be open-minded. There is a lot of experience with the guys that are diving there regularly. So listen to what they have experienced, both good and bad stuff, and learn from their experience and just enjoy. It can look dark and scary at first, but it's an incredible place if you just take it easy and just enjoy.
Awesome, man. Well, Philip, I absolutely appreciate you coming on to the podcast today. It has been great to hear your journey. I love chatting, especially to places that I have not been, and I get to hear a little bit more and kind of, live through you a little bit and hear about it more. So thank you very much for coming on to the podcast today, man. I absolutely appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
Offgassing, a scuba podcast.